Hello viewers, welcome to Ekam Academy. In this video, we are going to discuss about the act recently passed with respect to Chief Election Commissioner appointment and what is the Supreme Court statement regarding staying of this bill, and all these things we are going to discuss. And not only that, we are going to discuss what is the appointment process of Election Commissioner, why it has created controversy among the political parties, and what is the stand of the government, and what is Supreme Court's recent judgment with respect to appointment of Chief Election Commissioner, what is the role of TN station, and what is actual Election Commission of India, all the constitutional provisions related to Election Commission of India, all these things we are going to discuss. Let's start the discussion. Here you can see we are going to discuss why it is in news, what is about Election Commission, appointment, tenure of CEC, what is mentioned in the Constitution of India, what is the composition, then what is Supreme Court's observation with respect to this, what is the government's reply, and what is the way forward. So this forms part of GS paper to Indian Constitution, as well as it covers judiciary. Then why it is in news. So if you have seen, Supreme Court yesterday itself has said a statement that it cannot stay the execution of this particular act. What is this act? It is the appointment, the act pertaining to Election Commissioner's appointment. So if you have remembered, last year in 2023 itself, there was a bill passed in the parliament and it received presidential assent also. What is that bill? Chief Election Commissioner and Other Election Commissioners Act 2023. So if you have remembered, it was introduced in parliament and it got approval in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and it has received presidential assent also. Now it became an act. So what is this act? Means it wants to deal with, this new legislation is pertaining to appointment process, appointment process, conditions of service, and term of the office of Election Commissioner. So what is the need for this bill is, it is going to replace that passed in 1991, So that if you have remembered, in 1991 there were major changes made to with respect to Election Commissioner's office and all, So if you have remembered, there were some changes brought, and there were some committees also which have suggested that these should be the reforms brought with respect to Election Commission, like Dinesh Goswami Committee, Law Commission in its 255th report also. It has set some recommendations, So we made some changes in 1991, and now this act is going to amend or repeal this particular act. So what is the issue about? So if you have seen in the recent times, 3 to 4 months back only, Supreme Court has made a landmark judgment, So with respect to CEC appointments, because CEC appointment process is done by the president itself, So CEC, Election Commission is composed of 1 Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners. So these persons are appointed by President of India. But what is the criteria? Who will select, and what is the eligibility or qualification and things that has to be satisfied for the members to become a part of a Chief Election Commissioner or other commissioners is not detailed by the Constitution. Whenever there is a loophole or there is nothing specified by the Constitution, it is subjected to a lot of interpretation, and then Supreme Court or the other high courts can decide and interpret how it can be, what is the actual essence of the constitutional or the Constitution, and what is the mind of makers at that point of time. All those things will be interpreted by the Supreme Court and High Court subsequently. Then what happened? What is the issue about? Previously, central government used to recommend, whoever it thinks fit that these persons can become the Chief Election Commissioner or other commissioners, central government used to select, and it can send the names to the president, and president used to appoint those members to the Election Commission. That is the process followed. But Election Commission is an independent body, and it is a constitutional body authorized to conduct free and fair elections. Free and fair elections in India. So if you remember, this concept of free and fair elections is also part of basic structure in Indian Constitution. Means you cannot pass any law in the parliament to remove this concept of free and fair elections. It cannot be curtailed anytime, even through a law of parliament. Then what is the issue about? If you want to conduct free and fair elections, if the appointment is done by the center, that means the persons, if they are appointed on the recommendations of central government, there can be a chance of partiality, so they can tilt towards the center, or they can show their gratitude towards the center. So because of these allegations, recently Supreme Court said that only center cannot recommend. There should be a 3-member committee to select the election commissioners to the Election Commission of India. What did Supreme Court said? Supreme Court said a body or a committee consisting of Prime Minister, leader of opposition from the Lok Sabha, okay, or the leader of the largest party in the Lok Sabha, opposition party, and Chief Justice of India. These three members forming a committee should recommend, okay, so they have to recommend to the president who can become the election commissioner or chief election commissioner. So this is what the recent Supreme Court judgment is. Then what happened? What is the issue? So what is the issue with this? Central government said no, okay, so we cannot include Chief Justice of India in this appointment process, okay. This undermines the separation of powers, and they passed a separate act. That is what we have seen in the previous slide. So the act was passed in 2023 and it has received assent, right? So now what is the central government proposing? It is saying that central government is through this act, it said that selection committee, okay, so to recommend the names will be consisting of Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and also union minister, any one minister nominated by the president, prime minister. That means this is by selection committee suggested by central government. Supreme Court said it should be by Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and Chief Justice of India. So that means there is a replacement with this, okay. That means government wants to exclude Chief Justice of India from this appointment process. So it want to replace with any union minister nominated by the Prime Minister, okay. So and also it said in case if there is a vacancy means, for example, if there is no leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, then also that cannot stall or that cannot invalidate the appointment process. Means, for example, if you have remembered in case of Lokpal, okay, so we have passed this act right in 2013, but till 2019-20 we didn't have any Lokpal appointed. What is the reason stated by central government when Supreme Court asked is, it said as there is no leader of opposition, and you know one of the member in selection panel for Lokpal is leader of opposition. As there is no leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, we couldn't appoint. So here what did government incorporate in this act is, it said in case if there is a vacancy in that selection committee also, it cannot invalidate, means it cannot stop the work of the selection committee. That means even if two members are there, then also they can make recommendations to the president to appoint such persons to the election commission. So this is what you have to understand. Then what actually happened, okay, so here search committee means selection committee is headed by, according to that, Prime Minister, leader of opposition, union minister, okay. So they cannot randomly pick. Their job has to be made easy, you know. For them to make their job easy, there is a search committee. Search committee means it is headed by a panel of 5 persons headed by cabinet secretary. So he is an IAS officer who is advising the cabinet and the prime minister. So this person along with 4 other persons, they will list it down. You can say like they will prepare the names of 5 probable persons who is having the rank of secretary to the central government, okay. Any person who is having the rank of secretary to the central government, such members will be prepared. The list will be prepared by this search committee, and that list will be forwarded to selection committee headed by Prime Minister, leader of opposition, and union minister nominated by the president. Means from 5, okay, these names will be prepared and this will be sent to this selection committee. So here these 3 members or 2 members, they will recommend one person named to the president, and then president will appoint this particular person as a chief election commissioner or election commissioner. So this is the entire process. You can see here another thing is this selection committee, that is, can also recommend other candidates, okay. So in case if these 5 members are there, in case if the selection committee headed by Prime Minister want to appoint some other person who is not there in the list of 5 suggested by search committee, that also can be done, okay. There is no such rule that has to be followed. Then what is a qualification? Means now in this act, because in the original constitution there is nothing specified with respect to qualification, okay. So for the post of election commissioner, so here they said rank of secretary, okay, any person who is equivalent to the rank of secretary can have, and he should also have some expertise in conduct of some elections. Then, what is the Supreme Court's observation? Recently, Supreme Court became very serious with respect to the appointment process because it became a mere lip service. Okay, you are doing it nominal. There is no seriousness or there is no concern with respect to independence of election commission. So it said also tenures of chief election commissioner. If you know, there is 6 years or 65 years term mentioned according to the constitution. But if you see, it has come down for over 8 years in 1950s to about 200 days only. Okay, so that means after 100 days or after 3-4 months only there is a change in election commissioner. Okay, and section 4 of this 1991 act said that there should be a commissioner for 6 years term or 65 years, whichever is earlier. So now this act was repealed by 2023 act. Okay, then and also it said that only you can remove, okay, if there is any use. So then without completing any term, only if there is any particular use, then only you can go for impeachment. And SC also has referred this case of former CEC, that is T.N. Seshan. Okay, you can remember him. He is a very important person who has brought so many reforms with respect to Election Commission of India. Okay, so it referred the case of T.N. Seshan, and it said in the absence of law. Okay, to means because there is no specification with respect to qualification, term, and all these things, right? That means silence of Indian Constitution is being exploited. Exploited means you are using for your own benefits. That is what the opinion expressed by Supreme Court, and it also said Chief Justice of India should be included in the selection process, and as I told you, to include transparency, because if both center and opposition party and judicial is also involved, it will try to make it more independent and fair. Then what is the government's reply? There is no vacuum in the constitution. Separation of powers cannot be challenged because appointment process is under the domain of executive. If you have studied executive functions of the President of India, in that appointment of CEC, appointment of Chairman of Finance Commission, UPSC members, all this is part of executive power of the President of India. So if you are involving in the appointment process of CEC and ECs, then that is violation of separation of powers. Okay, that is executive domain. And it is also said that matter is of the Parliament and it is not the court who have to decide with respect to this issue. And then you have to know these are the things which is very important for prelims, okay, with respect to Election Commission, because Election Commission, its appointment, qualification, term, all this is in news since 6 months. So it is very important and there is a high chance that UPSC can ask a question on this. So it is a permanent, okay, so it is not a non-permanent body. So what are the non-permanent bodies also having constitutional status in India is, Finance Commission is one non-permanent constitutional body, and also Interstate Council. Okay, so these two are non-permanent constitutional body, but this Election Commission is permanent independent constitutional body under Article 324 of Indian Constitution. It was established on 25th January 1950. That is why we celebrate Voters' Day also on that particular day. 26th January only we have our Republic Day celebrated, right? So just before one day means, even if some provisions, all the constitution came into force on 26th January 1950, but if some provisions came into force on 26th November 1949 itself. Okay, some provisions relating to citizenship and elections, all these things came into effect on 26th November 1949 itself. Okay, so that is why it is having its force on from then. And Article 324 is authorizing the Election Commission to conduct elections for the posts of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state assemblies, and also president and vice president. These are the bodies for which the Election Commission can conduct elections. And State Election Commission will conduct elections for panchayats and municipalities. It is not the Central Election Commission or Election Commission of India. Do remember this. And then related provisions, Part 15 of Indian Constitution deals with election, 324, 329, all the things related to Election Commission, power, functions, tenure, all these things are dealt here. You can see the articles, right? 324, superintendence and conduction of elections. 325, no person will be discriminated to register their names in the electoral rolls and all. House of the People means Lok Sabha, and assemblies will be on the terms of universal adult franchise. Okay, and 327, power of Parliament to make law with respect to elections to legislature. 328 with respect to the state state, okay, and also bar of interference from courts in the electoral matters, means there is a bar on the courts to interfere in these matters. Then what is the appointment process? Appointment is done by the president. Tenure 6 years or 65 years. Salary equal to judges of the Supreme Court. Qualification, constitution, there is no prescribement, okay, they did not prescribe anything. So this can be asked as a question, okay. So because most of the people will get confused, the new act is specifying that qualification means equal to the rank of secretary, but there is no such thing mentioned by the constitution itself. Employment after retirement, they are not barred, okay. So there is no debarment that they cannot participate in any further employment. Removal done by similar grounds like a Supreme Court judge. Supreme Court judge has to be removed by passing a resolution in the motion on the parliament, right? 2/3 members should be there. So special majority of 2/3 members present and voting, supported by more than 50% of total strength of the house. So with this majority, you can remove any members from the post of election commissioner or other commissioners. What are the grounds for removal? Proven misbehavior and incapacity. So these are the two grounds, okay, so which are mentioned even for removal of Supreme Court judge and High Court judges. So then, what is the composition? Till 1989, only one member used to head the election commission. Then what happened in 1988, if you remember, 61st Amendment Act in Rajiv Gandhi's tenure, so it has reduced the voting age from 21 to 18. When this age was reduced, the more number of people are qualified to vote, right? So at that point of time, due to increase in workload, this single member body was made as 1+2 member body, and this is continuing in the recent times. Then what is in case of difference of opinion? If you see, although one person is the chief election commissioner and other two are election commissioners, they are having equal status, okay. This person is not having so many extra powers, okay. So in case if there is a difference of opinion, majority will prevail, means out of 3, majority 2 members whatever they support, that will be taken, okay. And in salaries and all these things will be same for these 3 persons, but only one thing this CEC will enjoy is, in case of removal of this particular election commissioners, this person has to recommend the removal, okay. But for this person's removal, it is passed on the similar grounds like a judge of a Supreme Court, okay. This is what you have to keep in mind. Then what constitutes a budget means, it is normally allocated by Ministry of Finance. Independent budget will be given, okay, because it is an independent body, there is no control by the government. For parliament elections, whatever the money is required, that will be borne by central government. For state governments will bear this. And recently there is a concept proposed is simultaneous elections. If simultaneous elections going to happen in India, at that time they have to be shared equally between union and states. Then, so these are the things, okay, functions of election commission, and be prepared with this particular topic. Then what is the way forward? Election commission is authorized by in Constitution of India to conduct free and fair elections in India. So whatever the appointment process with respect to election commission is there, that should happen in a fair and transparent way. That should be the way forward. Let's see the practice question for prelims. Here you can see which of the following is not mentioned in Article 1 of Indian Constitution. That is a question practice. And you can see here, consider the following statements. Originally, the commission had only one election commissioner, but was made a multi-member body through 42nd Amendment Act, okay. And chief election commissioner can be removed by the President of India. So which of the following statements is correct, okay. So answer in the comment section. Then what is the mains question? Discuss the role of Election Commission of India in the light of evolution of Model Code of Conduct. Model Code of Conduct doesn't have any statutory backing. It was made according to the consensus of political parties, okay. So in the light of, because Model Code of Conduct, if it doesn't have any statutory backup and all these things, it is very difficult for the Election Commission to enforce the provisions. And also in light of this, what is the role of Election Commission? Answer in the mains question. Okay, so we have come to the end of the video. In this video, we have discussed in detail about CEC Appointment Act of 2023, how it differs from the original act passed in 1991, and what are the changes, and what is the Supreme Court's opinion with respect to appointment process, and how it is different from central government, what is the criteria for appointment, term, eligibility, removal, all these things with respect to election commissioners we have seen, and we have also seen powers and functions of election commission. Okay, so this is a very important topic for prelims. Be thorough with these things, and it is very important in GS2 polity also. Thank you. Have a good day.